You know, it's interesting. I had a fairly decent career. I was a vice president of a small manufacturing company. I became director of a very, very large manufacturing company. And I was tethering back and forth between consulting and manufacturing. I was certified in what is a international predetermined time standard called SPS, symbolic programming. I was laid off. I was with a company and I was laid off. They merged with a German company, laid off. And a friend of mine asked me if I would mind coming to Rhode Island to evaluate this predetermined time system for this company called Victor Electric Wire and Cable. I was looking for work, so I jumped at the opportunity. I came to Rhode Island. After I completed the job, the owner of the company asked me if I would come on board as operations manager for this one location. They had 3 locations. One was in Westerly, one was in Coventry, and the other one was in Pawtucket. I came, and that's what brought me to Rhode Island. Within a year, he came to me and he said, "There are 3 of you, and I want to make one person vice president of operations. I want to make one person director of materials, and I want to make the 3rd person a traveling representative. And it's up for grabs between the 3 of us." Well, I was fortunate enough to be selected. So I became vice president of operations. I was there for 4 years. Decided that the company was a $30 million company going down to about a $15 million company. Recommended that I work out a package with the owners, the president, which we did. And I started my consulting company. I started with a guy by the name of Bruce Nixon, and we called it Hernix, Heron and Nixon. We struggled. We struggled like you can't believe. I often say that if I had to do over again, I wouldn't do it. What I put my wife and family through just wasn't fair. Financially, my wife broke down with shingles. She was worried. I couldn't give the food and the things that my kids wanted. I just felt so guilty about that. I eventually think it led to my heart attack, but that's another story. And then by stroke of luck, genius, whatever you want to call it, I realized one day that I was unemployable. So I had to make this thing work, this thing that I called consulting. It wasn't a coach at the time, it was consulting. And that it was almost like being hit by a bolt of lightning, where I woke up one time and said, this has to work. I have to make it work. And things started to get progressively better. I met a guy who asked me if I'd write a business plan. He wanted to buy a liquor store, and he wanted to go through the SBA. And he asked me if I knew anything about writing business plans, and I said, sure. So we arranged to do things. Well, I went to the library and read how to develop a business plan. That's absolutely how I got involved in business. And I would go back, and a week later, and I'd say, I want you to do this, 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 and this. And we'd discuss it, and he would do it, and I'd get paid. And then I'd go back to the library and find out what the next step was. And all of a sudden, it worked out. He wound up getting the loan from the SBA. He passed the word around to a few other people that I could write business plans. And he kept me on board, asked me if I'd help him grow his business. And it just mushroomed. And it became, that's what got me eventually to Rhode Island. And then I did that for probably 5 or 6 years. And I decided that I was tethering between large companies and small businesses. And I found that I could be much more effective working with small businesses because it was an instant response. I'd come out with a suggestion, they'd either do it or they wouldn't do it. It didn't have to go to a committee. It didn't have to go to from a vice president to the president to whatever the mechanism was, whatever the chain of command was. And I found that the success rate was outstanding. So about 5 years into the practice, by this time my partner had left. He had bought into another company. And so I was on my own, and that was fine. And it started to just blossom. And I've been working with small businesses ever since.